So kind of before I dig in, disclaimer, this is probably going to get really emotional. Um, Day two, Lori kind of challenged us on um, some things in the way we view ourselves from our parents. Because when you're little, a lot of your identity comes from the way that you interact with your parents and the way you perceive things. Um, and yeah, God was kind of showing me that I'm not done perceiving things. So yeah, mom and dad, if you're watching this, don't take this the wrong way at all. I love you to death, and you have been so good in parenting me. Um, you have made me to be such a strong young man of God, and I can never say thank you enough for that. Um, a lot of this comes from my own perceptions of myself, and interactions with myself and you guys. Also, anybody else that's watching, um, my parents are amazing, and by all means, I love them to death. Would jump in front of a bullet in a mere second to save them from the pain, save them from death at all. Like, yeah, and I have great friendship with them, but well, yeah. So basically, just a disclaimer. Anyhow, so Lori started out with talking about just have you ever paused and considered that God likes you, likes who you are. I was like, wow, okay, no, not really. I mean, I like know He loves me, but like I feel like love is kind of different than like, and like love is kind of not conditional, but like in a family, like you just love your brothers. It's what you do. You love your parents. It's what you do. Um, and that's just the way that family's supposed to be. And like I never paused to consider that God likes me. God likes who I am. I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. And yeah, was feeling like, wow, God likes who I am. That's really awesome. That's encouraging to me. Um, and and she's like, when you are able to compliment who you are, you're praising Him. So when I'm happy in who I am, I'm praising God. Um, and that was awesome and cool. Um, and kind of set me up for what was to come. But yeah, so the first point she brought up during the day was our parents give us our first glimpse of God. Um, and kind of dive into that a little bit more of how God is. He possesses things like logical thinking. Logical thinking side a lot of the times equated with the father or the dad, but also the nurturing side considered with the mom. How God isn't like we're like yes, God the Father. So a lot of times we like associate Him with a man, but He doesn't technically have a gender. Um, and so everything that we associate with like husband or wife or whatever, like God is both. Um, and like he's the good traits of both. So that was kind of cool. Um, but then she kind of went into it and broke it down. Was like, what do you think about God based on your parents? Um, like, what do you think? Who do you believe that God is based on your parents and what you perceived of them? Um, and so these are four of the things that I came up with to start out. Um, my value is in what I do. I must pull my own weight. I can only talk to God through someone else, and God's love is selective. Um, Number one comes from my value um, and feeling like my value is conditional. Um, Growing up, it was always I felt like I had to earn my father's love, um, and like how that just kind of really destroyed me because I never could. Um, my dad is very much just he's very good at working, and he is a provider for our family, um, and works hard and has role model that's so well for me. But when you're little and you desire to help, but you just can't do it to the way that it needs to be done, um, I felt very much like a failure constantly, and that put a lot of my value in the way I saw my value in what I did, um, not the way that God sees me, but how I equated it with God because I saw that there were parents, my parents. So yeah, she went on to have us write down our dad, write down our mom, um, and say three things that like are positive and three things that are negative um, for both of them. And yeah, Dad and Mom, if you're watching, please don't take offense to this. But this is just what I perceived when I was little, and what I perceived and how I felt about things. So the positive things about my dad: he's hardworking, he's humorous, he's a provider. Um, Positive things I thought about my mom: she's loving, she's approachable, and she's caring. Um, Both like positive far outweighs the negative. And like when you truly think about it, but also when you're a kid or when you're growing up, you feel a lot more of the negative. Like you can do something right 100 times, but the moment you do something wrong, you beat yourself up. Um, Negative things about my dad: workaholic, not approachable, distant. Um, Negatives about my mom: overanalyzes, uh, concrete in her thinking, um, objective listener. Um, Things that obviously have changed as I've gotten older, but some things that are still very much the same. Things that I still feel. Um, yeah. Um, this is hard for me to say, but I never felt like I could talk to my dad. I never felt like I could actually go to him when I had a problem with the way he interacted with me, um, or the way that he did something, or um, how he approached me. I It was like he was uncorrectable. Um, and so if I had something wrong, if I had beef with him, I had to go through my mom because as a kid, as a young adult, I wasn't allowed to tell my dad what was wrong or something that he'd done wrong because apparently I'm not able to voice my opinion, um, very much how I felt. That hurt because he was not approachable, and so you felt like there's this distance between yourself and him that like you can't just make up. That no matter what you did, there will always be this divide. Um, and I'm gracious for my mom being there, being able to listen to me, but she could never explain it how I wanted it to be explained. She could never explain the hurt or the emotion behind what happened and how I saw him hurting me or hurting my brother or something, and so I'd complain to my mom, but I always felt like her in general was an objective listener. Like she was on my dad's side, and she was never taking the time to actually listen to me, um, but just taking the time to hear what I said and then try to prove my dad's side. Um, and so I just felt like these general things of just problems were never solved because all I would do is bring them to a party, and then that party would work it out with the other party, but I never knew if it was worked out or not because I never saw any results from my dad. Any results of coming and talking to me or change or anything. and I struggled with that so much. Um, and she so Lori then went into what do you believe about yourself because of your parents? Um, and this is where, yeah, I'm loved, but my value is conditional. I can be a friend to my dad, but I'm not allowed to know him. My opinion doesn't matter, and I should keep my thoughts to myself. I need to be grounded for everyone else around me, even if my life is crap. And what I do is what I am. I'll start off with the first statement. I'm loved, but my value is conditional. Um, this isn't just from my childhood, but even nowadays. I just feel like I know that my family loves me, and I know that my parents love me, and that love is transcending through everything. But my value is conditional because my value comes from what I do, um, and I can only do so much. And so I feel like this burns put on me because I'm loved, but I need to earn my value through what I do, through how I can be accomplished, how successful I am. And there's also the mentality of being a middle child and having to live up to your older brother, which is he's amazing and I love him to death. But the uh, the idiot is stupid successful, um, which is great. But I mean that just means that you feel like you need to do more in order to earn your value. Um, this is the one that I probably struggle with the most. I can be a friend to my dad, but I'm not allowed to know him. I just desire to know my dad so much. I desire to know him in a sense that I feel like I can just come and talk to him when there's something hard going on, or that I can approach him if there's something wrong between our relationship. Um, but right now I can't, and I don't know if that'll change. Um, and I just have to go through my mom. But we can be friends. We can laugh together. We can have great times together. We can um, spend time together, and I can know his voice. But I don't know if I'm ever gonna be able to truly know him. Um, and I think that's really all I want. I just want to know my dad. Um, again, this all comes from the fact that I feel like he's unapproachable. My opinion doesn't matter, and I should keep my thoughts to myself. And what I feel and when I'm hurt, that because I can't correctly, because I can't speak it to my dad, because I can't walk up and tell him how I'm feeling, and I have to go through my mom, that my opinion doesn't really matter because by the time it gets to him, it's watered down so much that it's not actually my opinion anymore. Um, And so a lot of times I'll just keep things to myself. Um, I need to be grounded for everyone else around me, even if my life is crap. Uh, yeah, just how a lot of times we feel like we can't avidly be ourselves because we need to support the others around us. Um, and you need to constantly be this happy person, happy, go lucky, lifting everybody's spirits, which I know it's not required, but that's the way I feel. Um, like a specific memory of this is my grandmother died, and I mean everybody was heartfelt, emotional, and we were standing there in front of her casket as we were in the funeral service, and everybody else was crying, and I'm just standing there, and it was like I didn't feel any emotion at all. And I was making sure people had tissues. I was watching out for people, and I mean I was 32, but the first thing that came was making sure everybody else was okay. That's not a bad trait, but it's just almost this false sense like you need to keep your life fake, uh, fake it until you break, and then you let everything out, and then you fake it till you break again. Um, yeah, so it's all hard, and it's all relative to the way I feel about things. And clearly, it still bothers me because I'm crying about it. Um, but yeah. And then the next thing she said was we need to transfer our trust from our parents to God as we grow older. Um, Not that trusting your parents is bad, but rather that we need to find our identity in God. Um, and I'm still struggling with how to do that. Like I'm confident in who I am, and I'm confident in what I'm supposed to be, but I'm struggling with how do I give up this relationship with my parents to God? Because at this point, I can still have hope that it's going to be better, but I need to stop worrying about it so much that I can just dwell in His presence, and be at peace no matter what happens in the situation. Um, and I don't know how to do that because this has been my life, literally. Um, Before I get to bed tonight, I'm probably going to be praying about that a lot. Um, but yeah, she wanted to say that the brokenness of our families affects our identity. Whether your parents were out of the picture, emotionally unavailable, physically or verbally abusive, it affects our identity and our identity in Christ, um, how we believe, and share this system of how the roots, it's like a belief tree, and the roots are our belief system, which stems from our identity. The trunk is our values. Um, the branches are our decisions, and the fruit is our actions or our behavior. If you're visual, there, uh, and it only goes one way. Um, and um, in order to change, the roots, not the fruit, are the pattern of the world. Um, Romans 12:2 speaks of the pattern of the world, and how we need to deviate from that. A lot of times people are like, oh yeah, we need to change our fruit, but you need to pull up your roots. And so, um, yeah, we just got finished up with worship, and we were supposed to pick a road, and I picked a road with a van on it, and the van, it was like in Utah. It looked like cool rock structures, stuff like that, but it was just a yellow van. And she's like, why'd you pick this one? And I was looking at it, and it's just like, because I just desire to be that bear. I just want to go. I just want to have happy, good times with friends, or a friend specifically in that band, um, talking about life and not worrying about anything else, not having cell phones, not having connections to other people. I just want to be free. Um, and God was like, well, what are you running from? And I was running from myself. And he's like, no, you're not supposed to start over fresh. Start with the new tree. I've made this tree. I've made you. You need to uproot where your values are, where your beliefs are, and reroot them in me. And that's going to be a process. It's going to be a struggle. But ideally, I need to do it. I need to work towards it. And until I get to that point, I mean, until I get to the point where I'm just completely working towards this thing, until I get to the end, it's going to be a rocky journey. And it's going to be hard. But with his strength and with his help, I can do it. I think. Now I know. I know I can do it with his strength and with his help. Um, so yeah. Once again, I love my parents dearly. Mom, Dad, I love you so much. I like you too. Um, and I would not trade you guys for anything in this entire world. Just know that I love you. Because I know that too. And I know that you love me. Love you guys.